This video is not going to make much sense to you unless you watch part 14 first. In part 14, we looked at single-syllable verbs like chat and shred and grow and stray, and we had to decide whether to double that final letter before we put ing on. And the rules were a little bit complicated, not too complicated, but they are a lot more complicated for two-syllable verbs, which is what we're going to look at in this video. And once again, we're going to look at 8 verbs, 4 of them where we do double the final letter, and 4 verbs where we don't, and all of them, once again, will finish with one vowel and one consonant. If you've got a root verb that does not end with one vowel and one consonant, you do not need to consider doubling the final letter. Now, in all of these 8 words, we have one vowel and one consonant at the end, but only the first 4 will double that final letter before we put an ing or sometimes an ed on the end. The final 4 verbs, we will never double that final letter before we put ing on. The first 4 verbs where we do double that final letter are begin, admit, forget, and prefer. The final 4 verbs are open, offer, edit, and happen. So now that we have two-syllable words, we need to consider something that we always do, but never really pay attention to. When we say a two-syllable word, nearly all the time we will emphasize one syllable and go quite quietly on the other syllable. It doesn't have to even be a verb here. Even in my name, Trevor, we've got 2 syllables, Trevor. One of them is a strong syllable, one of them is a quiet syllable. Now, the final 2 letters of my name are O-R, but when you say my name, it sounds like E-R, Trevor. The last syllable is so quick that you can't hear the O-R. That's because the strong syllable in my name is the first syllable, the Trev. And for most people who have 2-syllable names, we usually emphasize the first syllable in English anyway. Now, with these 2-syllable verbs, we will also have strong syllables and quiet syllables. So we'll begin with begin. Which is the strong syllable? Is it the B or the gin? Which one do we really emphasize when we say the word? Do we say begin? Because that's how we would say the word if we emphasized the first syllable. Contrast that with how we actually say the word. We say begin. The first syllable is so quiet that many kids don't even realize that the second letter of begin is an E, because we say begin. What that tells us is the gin is the strong syllable. It ends with a vowel and a consonant, and therefore we keep the rule of doubling the final letter before we put ing on, because it ends with a vowel and a consonant, and it is the strong part of the word, the strong syllable. The same counts with the word admit. It ends with a vowel and a consonant, but that mit has to be the strong part of the word, which it is. It's admit. It is not admit. It is admit. And the mit is the strong syllable. The second syllable is a strong syllable. It finishes with a vowel and a consonant, and therefore when we spell a word like admitting or admitted, we have to double that T. The same with forget. You can hear that the get is the strong part of the word. The start of it is more like a fr rather than a for. It's forget. And so that tells us that once again, the end of the word has the strong syllable. The second syllable is strongest. It ends with a vowel consonant, et. Therefore, we double that T if we want to spell forgetting. And it's very useful to get your child to pay attention to ER ending on words, particularly 2-syllable words that end with an ER. In the word prefer, the ER sounds like the word air. That tells us that the final syllable is strongest. So when we want to spell preferring or preferred, we need to double the R. It finishes with one vowel and one consonant. But in the next 4 words, we do not double the final letter because the second syllables are quiet. In the verb open, we do not say open. So the second syllable is quiet, it sounds more like pin. And so we know that the O is the strong part of the word. The final syllable is not emphasized, it's not the strong part of the word. We therefore do not double the N, even though it finished with one vowel and one consonant. Now compare the word offer with prefer. If the ER is strong, it will sound like the word air, as in prefer, but in the word offer, the ER does not sound like the word air. We emphasize the off in offer, so it becomes offer. So we just keep one R and we do not double the end of that word. A tricky one is edit. Edit is a trickier one to hear, but pay attention to how the start of that word is stronger, the first syllable. In edit, the ED is the strong part, edit. If it wasn't, it would sound more like edit. So because the first syllable is strong, it doesn't matter that the word ends with a vowel and a consonant. Editing or edited does not have a double T. And the word happen is just like the word open. Even though it ends with en, the first syllable is strong. It's happen, it's not happen. And so we don't double the N for that word either. One other final rule to consider, though, is in British English, we just decide to double an L no matter what.